Hello everyone, welcome back to Her Voice. In 2027, that is when the first trade war began between the US and China. What we noticed back then is China didn't retaliate. The president of China came to the US, negotiated a trade deal, and that was it. Now, one will wonder, why did the Chinese not retaliate back then? But this time, they are bent on destroying the whole West. This is because the Chinese knew their weakness. Their weakness was helium. It has been alleged that China was fully dependent on the US for the manufacturing and processing of helium, which is one of the main resources in the production of their EV cars, in the production of their military weapons. So China looked at that and decided that no, they're going to submit to the US. They're going to go and negotiate a trade deal because they have not acquired helium production, which is going to make them stable in their economy, which will make their economy not rely on any other economy. Many people thought it was oil, it was maybe rare earth materials, but no, the main issue was helium. And I want to think that even the US did not know why China bowed down to them back then, because in 2027, China was already a superpower. But then, they know their weakness. One thing with the Chinese is they map out their progress in sets of 15 years. And within the 15 years, they do a re-evaluation every quarter and a big evaluation every 5 years. Ongoing now, they've come out with another 15 years plan for their future, which I think is something that each country should try to adopt. So now let's go back to this trade war. China's silent response was something the West didn't quite understand. In 2027 and early 2028, the president then, Donald Trump, imposed a heavy tariffs on Chinese imports from electronics to steel. The goal was simply to pressure China to change their trade policy. The whole world watched China not retaliate, but they came and they actually bowed down to the US. President of China back then, President Xi, came to the US with his wife to negotiate a trade agreement with the US. The whole world was surprised. If you were not surprised, it means you have not understood the power that China held back then. China accepted, they did not retaliate. They negotiated a trade deal, and when they went back home, they decided to manufacture everything. They decided that their country would not rely on any other country for anything. They made that a priority, and they achieved the goal. At the moment, China depended heavily on the United States for helium production. The gas is critical for space technology, medical equipment, even military equipment. Experts at the time called helium China's Achilles heel. Over 30% of its helium came from the United States and its allies. You know, the United States imposed something and Europe follows like a puppy. That's what they do. Even they follow blindly, even to the point of destroying their own economy. So rather than escalating, the president, she played long game. He accepted the tariffs. He kept calm. He went home to fix the problem. Now let's look at how China fixed the problem for helium. Back in China, the president quietly launched a revolution, a plan to make their country self-reliant in helium. The first step, China began diversifying its supply. It did not only buy now from the US and its allies, it started buying from Qatar, started buying from Russia, started buying from countries that the US does not have a big hold on them. Buying more helium from this country instead from the US reduced trade and reliance on the US drastically. The next step is China began building its own domestic helium production. They started extracting helium from natural gas fields in Xinjiang and other places in the Mongolia. By 2024, China had reduced US helium imports from 30% to even less than 5%. It no longer needed the US for helium production or to buy helium. That single shift gave China more freedom in the global trade war. The same resources that once restrained them became part of their strategic independence. As usual, China plays the long game. not the short game. They don't look at the next 5 years, they look at the next 15 years. By the time Trump left office, the trade war had cost both countries billions of dollars. But China walked away with a lesson. Never rely on one supplier again. So Beijing went further with oil. They turned to Russia, Canada. Soybeans, they turned to Brazil, and later on Argentina. Semiconductors, they pushed their semiconductor production of Huawei and the SMIC to build advanced chips at home. When tariffs returned in 2025 under Trump's second term, even US imposing 100% tariffs, China didn't panic. It was already trading with Europe, Africa, South America at record level. The war had changed, so had China. But the US had not changed. The US still rely on China for so many things. The hidden card people thought was rare earth was not rare earth. It was the production of rare earth. China alone holds 90% production of rare earth minerals. Rare earth is not really rare if you want to look at it. It is found in Alaska, it is found in Texas, it's found in so many places in the US. But the manufacturing of rare earth, it's where the problem lies. It consumes a lot of energy and it gives out a lot of pollution. China has found a way to produce rare earth that will give out little or no environmental pollution, and they have looked for all green energy to produce rare earth. Why the US has not done that? It has always outsourced its rare earth production to China. But helium, China controls over 60% of global rare earth production. Some say even 90%. Metal essentials for EV cars, wind turbines, and military systems. Throughout 2024 and 2025, China has imposed new export restrictions on rare earth and refining equipment. This time, it wasn't about defense. It was a signal, a reminder to Washington. We can fight this war on our term. The US tried to block advanced chips from reaching China, but China responded by unveiling Hawaii's new AI chip, rivaling even NVIDIA. We even have NVIDIA's own CEO saying that it's nanometers away from producing high-quality chips, which they in turn can sell to the rest of the world at a very cheap price. They know how to do mass production. Mass production comes with cheap, high-quality goods. That is what China gives to the world. China now it's not low-quality goods. They produce high-quality goods now and sell them for cheaper price. Now in 2025, Trump wants to meet the president of China. He has been begging for this for years and years. For like the whole of 2025, he has been begging the Chinese president to meet with him. We know they're going to meet in the upcoming summit in South Korea. The balance of power has really shifted. China has the upper hand. Even the US is aware of it. China can disrupt the stock market in the US. Recently, they wiped out almost 1 billion or a trillion of the stock market just by a restriction of rare earth. China doesn't need the US for helium, for chips, for soybeans. They have outsourced all those things and they've gotten other partners. While the US tried to rally its allies, Europe, to stand against Beijing, US faces its own domestic problems or dilemma. China has already invested heavily in its car industry, in its energy industry, and in its critical mineral industry. Walking away from China right now, it's like walking away from $1 trillion trade. So the Europe really cannot afford to wait. In this new war, tariffs don't scare China at all anymore. They did in the past, but China embraces tariffs. In this new war, China has diversified its economy to a point that it really doesn't need the US anymore for trade. They are able to walk away from the trade they have with the US. Because it's not just about trade, it is about control over resources that makes modern life possible. The next race is the AI race. China is already beating the US in the AI race. And if you look at the GDP of China, which is something I don't rely on, China still have a long way to grow. At this point, China's GDP is just about 19 trillion, While the US, it's about 35 trillion. It means China has a long way to go to develop its country to reach the US. It's not just about politics, it's about the future of the global power, technology. Who controls materials in the 21st century? Who has the way not to control materials, but who can actually refine those resources in this century? And China has shown the rest of the world that it has not only the resources, it has the control, it has production ability, and it is ready to eat bitter. It is ready to walk away from $1 trillion trade because they know where the future is going to be. China, no, when I tell you, they do a 15 years plan. And if you look at the 15 years plan, Africa is included in China's 15 years plan. It is for us Africans to wake up and invest back in our home country, knowing that the future is going there. That is where we're going to get our own generational wealth for our children. Let's not let our generational wealth be taken away from us by other people. Like the way the Chinese and the Muslims, the Gulf states have taken away the generational wealth of Europe, the way they're coming into the US to take away the generational wealth of the Americans. We Africans should make sure our generational wealth is not taken away by the Chinese because they are coming in. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please give it a like, a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel. You have yourself a blessed day.